our fifth lecture time together, but we'll be engaging the unit 6, which is on deduction and induction. We've had ourselves introduced to it. This will be a substantive content on the unit, very heavy unit, like I keep saying, but not impossible. You just have to make sure you're munching on every part of the unit bit by bit, and we hope to do that. This is Monday group 1, 2024 January for main campus. We hope that the content is good enough to serve everyone else. Otherwise, we'll work with alternative. When I say otherwise, maybe the interaction or the emphasis may not have been on everything. Then we'll serve a student with all the other groups content. So we will take off, and I would want you to raise your hand if you want to read Bad Manners. My name is Dr. Nancy Miles, for JMP, and I'm sure you will know me by now already. Course instructor for some of the groups, also the course coordinator for UGRC 150.
Hello.
All right, so we'll move on. Now, if you look on my screen, you'll see that unit 6 is what I have projected. Unit 6, and the unit is titled Deduction and Induction. And we already saw what those two words represent. They represent two ways of reasoning or two types of argument, if you like. So two ways of reasoning or two types of argument. An argument could either be deductively done or inductively done. So the conclusion you are drawing may have been deductively arrived at or inductively arrived at. And that is what we set up last week to help ourselves understand. So quickly, I went through the course outline with you last week, so we'll go straight to substantive matter. And so this is what you see on your screen, shared to all groups on the site, on the unit. Think of deduction and induction as two types of arguments. And to make it simple for you, as two ways of reasoning, two ways of arguing. I could choose to argue deductively or I could choose to argue inductively. What do we mean either way? When I argue deductively, I am saying that granted that my conclusion were true, my premises were true, it will necessarily mean that my conclusion must also be true. If I have an argument and it is deductively done, I argued deductively, then it means that if the premises were true, the conclusion must also be true, else a contradiction will be created. That is where the deduction is a valid deduction, okay? But we can have a deduction that is not validly done, and that is where you have the formal fallacies. We went through that last week. We didn't go through the formal fallacies, but we showed you how someone may be deducing, but will be doing the deduction wrongly, and so it will create a type of fallacy that we call a formal fallacy. Now, the other type of argument, however, is the one that the premises could be true, and yet the conclusion may not necessarily follow, and that doesn't create a contradiction. Okay, to help you remember them, so put these slides there to help you remember what argument is, unit 3, the types of arguments. Then we went through this example that I want to do again. Everyone look at your screen. So if I told you all students write exams and I added that Amma is a student, then it would have to follow necessarily that she writes exams. If it were true that all students write exams and it was also true that Amma is a student, you will see that then it would have to be true necessarily that she writes exams. Okay, and so this is a type of argument that we would describe as what deductive. The conclusion is deduced from the premises. Look at it very well. We took the conclusion out of the premises, and I used the orange seed and the full orange to show you premise and conclusion. I told you the seed is already inside the orange. And so if you collect the whole orange and take it to your room, that's the premise. The premise, you take the whole orange, this is the premise. You have already taken the conclusion, which is the seed, along with you. That's the nature of a deductive argument, premises and conclusion. That's how they relate. The conclusion is already a part of the premises such that it is not possible to accept the premises as true, and yet you want to reject the conclusion as false. That generates a contradiction where you are dealing with what? A valid deductive argument. Okay. But on your screen again, you see the second type of argument illustrated there. Here, I've given you an argument that says most Ghanaians are hospitable. My mother is a Ghanaian, so I want to conclude that she's hospitable. The conclusion she's hospitable doesn't necessarily follow from the two premises up there if we were to assume them to be true. It doesn't necessarily follow because, like you yourself said last week during our pre-interactive time, it is because it is possible that my mother is part of the few Ghanaians who are not hospitable. How do I know that there are few who are not? Because I said most. We started with most Ghanaians are hospitable. So if most are, it doesn't mean all are. There could this premise suggests that there's an exception. If you get the drift, then that is why this conclusion doesn't necessarily follow from the premises given, even if we were to grant the premises to be true. Therefore, the relationship between the given premises and the conclusion drawn is not a necessary one. It is what? A probable one. In this our instance, is highly probable. The probability is high because we said most Ghanaians are hospitable and my mother is a Ghanaian. So the chances are high. The likelihood, the degree of likelihood is high that she will also be a hospitable person, but it is not a certainty. Okay, and that is why the conclusion doesn't necessarily follow. So those two illustrate an argument that you will call a deduction and one that you will call an induction. Next again on this screen, you see some more. So I've given you another one that is deductive and another one that is inductive. Look at the third one is a straightforward matter. It's not difficult to see why it is an induction. If we accepted the premises as true, there's a premise there. It says, since the security man was the last person who left the building yesterday, he stole the project leader's laptop. That is what the person is arguing for. Because the security man was the last person who left the project yesterday, the room yesterday. The person is arguing that then he stole the laptop. So the conclusion is he stole the laptop. We've seen all that. We've practiced with conclusion and premises. I'm just doing the build up, make sure I mop up very well to get to where we need to emphasize, okay? So we know the premise in that argument and we know the conclusion. Let us grant it to be true that the security man was the last person who left the building yesterday. It still doesn't mean necessarily, keyword necessary, doesn't mean necessarily that we can conclude from this premise that he stole the laptop. The premise doesn't do justice to this conclusion. It doesn't necessitate the conclusion. It doesn't guarantee it. There is no certainty, even if we were to accept the premise as true, that the conclusion would also be true. In example 3. So it is also an example of an induced. You are forcing the conclusion. Induction means you are inducing. I jokingly told you last week, and I say that in my recordings a lot, those who are playing them. I'll say, like the way some sisters force themselves on some brother. She's forcing herself. A force. What I can the brother hasn't said that he's interested in any serious relationship, but the sister is forcing. You induce vomiting. You induce vomiting. Mean the person didn't intend to vomit. That maybe something bad has gone inside, poison or something. So you give palm oil and something to induce it, to force it. It is not part of it. See that? So when you hear induction, have that in mind. The conclusion is not necessarily a part of the premise. So you are not deducing it from the premises, you are inducing it onto the premises. And that is why example 3 is inductive. Look at example 4. All mangoes are fruits. My pen is not a fruit. Look at what we just said. We say all mangoes, and I'm introducing you slowly now to the crucial part, the modus ponens and tollens and what have you, in a very simple way that you can grab. Now that I believe you have a firm grounding in determining deduction and distinguishing it from induction, you are ready to now go into the types of induction and the parts of deduction first, then we can do the types of induction later. Okay, so keep looking on our screen and we'll build up slowly. Example 4, which is also deductive in nature, says, all mangoes are fruits. I'm saying everything that is a mango is inside the big set of what? Fruits. That's what I've just said. All mangoes are fruits. All women are cheats means everything called a woman is inside the set of what? Cheat. So if I say all mangoes are fruit, I'm saying if you find anything that is a mango, all mangoes. So mango, if you were to find anything that is a mango, then it will be a fruit. If X is a mango, then X will be a fruit. All cats are mammals. It just means if X is a cat, then X will be a mammal. All women fly, whatever, fly Emirates. If X is a woman, then X will fly Emirates. So we can go, all who travel have passports. If X traveled, then X had a passport. You will see then that some of the things I'm saying are not necessarily stating facts out there. I want you to follow that. It might not be actually true out there if you observe, but it is just how I'm speaking hypothetically. So I could say all tables are chairs. I'm saying then that if X is a table, then X will be a chair. Now, have that in mind as we learn 3 in 1 at once. We are learning about 3 things in one at the same time right now. What are we learning? How to distinguish induction from deduction. We just learned that. Okay. How we say if it is a deduction, then as soon as the premises are true, it will necessitate, guarantee, ensure, require that the conclusion must also be true. If premises are true, conclusion must be true with it. Else you create a contradiction. Say it is because of the relationship between the conclusion and the premises. They are connected already. If you ask the human being to come in, the shadow will come with her. Don't say, why are you coming with your shadow? But you asked me to come. If you say I should come, my shadow will come. If I'm pregnant and you say, come into my room, I will enter. And as soon as I enter, the baby inside me will already be with me. So it will be a contradiction to say, mommy is the premise. That's the nature of valid deduction. Mommy is like the premise. If she comes in, she will come with the baby inside her tummy if she's pregnant. Okay. So a valid deduction is a pregnant premise, which is developed into what? Argument like the one you see. And so there are 4 patterns for that. But that is what I've said so far. 4 patterns that you have been asked to learn in your textbook. I told you last week when we were doing the preliminary session and interacting on it that there are quite a number of valid patterns. Those who do philosophy will do them, about 23 or so. Copies, rules of inference, constructive dilemma, addition, simplification, conjunction, they are all there. In addition to modus ponens, modus tollens, etc., etc. For your purposes, we were given only 4 to work with. What are the 4 valid deductive patterns or deductions that you are supposed to learn? The valid one, there are 4. Modus ponens, modus tollens, hypothetical syllogism, and disjunctive syllogism. I'm able to confidently move on like that because I know you've done your own work. I told you to go through the names, the things that are just names and factually verifiable, what have you, so that we can kind of help you with the concreteness. Okay, so those are the 4 valid patterns that you will learn. What makes them valid is that you are deducing correctly. So the word valid doesn't describe induction. Look on your screen again. When I have an inductive argument where the premises don't, warrant or guarantee the conclusion. See that one, this one, like example 3, or like what we did earlier, like example 2. It is inductive. Learn it now. If you're making notes, write it down. Inductive arguments are not described as valid or invalid. Validity and invalidity cannot describe inductive argument. You see that? It is the wrong term to use to describe induction. Inductive arguments are either strong or weak, cogent or not cogent, and stuff like that. We'll get there. So valid and invalid, the term valid and invalid describe or are labels that we attach to what? Deduction. So if you do your deduction correctly, according to a pattern that necessitates the conclusion, we'll say that is a valid deduction. If you don't do it correctly, we'll say the deduction is an invalid one. So take note of that. Now, where you have done your deduction validly, This is correctly, okay? And then you work with premises that are all true. All of them are true. So first, it is valid. Are you making your notes? I hope you are and you can hear me. Let me see if anyone can hear me. Please unmute and respond if you can hear me because I've been speaking for a while.
Yes, madam.
Yes, madam.
Yes,
Yes,
Yes, madam.
yeah,
Yes, madam.
extremely quiet. Let's continue. Very good. Learning, eh? Let's keep. It's fine. We move
Yes,
on.
ma'am.
yeah, Eba, Oscar.
Yes, madam.
Okay,
Yes,
fine.
madam.
Let's move on. Thank you all. Thank you very much. It was important I did that. Sometimes maybe people cannot hear. Oh, please, it's fine. Eh? Now let's continue. So I was saying that, look on my screen. I was saying that valid and invalid are terms used to describe deduction. We can trick you, so you have to know that. Invalid and valid, these two terms describe deduction. Okay. When do we say a deduction is valid? When you deduce correctly. So there are rules that guide how you should do the deduction for it to be valid. 4 of those rules is what you study. And so modus ponens pattern of deduction is one of the valid patterns, valid ways of deducing. There's a formula, sort of. So if you do it according to modus ponens pattern, we say it's a valid deduction by modus ponens. If you do it according to modus tollens pattern, it will also be valid, but a different kind of validity. And if you do hypothetical syllogism or disjunctive syllogism, they are all valid patterns of deduction. Okay, we'll learn them shortly. Very easy. But if you don't deduce validly, you could be deducing, yes, but doing it invalidly, incorrectly. Because the valid patterns are known, there are also some patterns trying, copying it, but they are counterfeit. They are not original. It's a deduction, all right, but incorrectly done. When we learn it, you see. So we call them informal. I'm so sorry. We call it what? Formal fallacy. Go there. Let's go. Everyone, look on your screen, please. I'm showing you the outline before we even start looking. So look at it. The valid ones are the ones you see at the top there: ponens, tollens, disjunctive syllogism, hypothetical syllogism. Then they are incorrect versions are the ones that we are describing as what? Fallacies. They are fallacies. But which type of fallacies? Formal fallacies. The fallacies are fallacies of the form. There is a form, a pattern, a way of doing it that you have deviated from. So you have gone against the form. Eh? So it is a fallacy of the form. That's why we call them formal fallacies. You are not doing it the way you were taught to do the valid pattern. Okay. And so look at modus ponens has another name. We call it affirming the antecedent, and you see it shortly. It's fallacy. Some people want to call it modus ponens fallacy. That will be wrong. Okay. But it's often the fallacy that is committed when the person is trying to do modus ponens but doesn't do it well. A counterfeit of modus ponens. Okay. So the person is trying to affirm something, but it doesn't affirm the appropriate thing. He rather affirms the other one. And so it becomes an affirmation of the consequent. We'll get there shortly. Okay. Just look at the names. So we have formal fallacies, and that is what? A type of deduction done incorrectly to create what? Invalid argument. Good. So we can now go back to our slide where we were. We are making some good advancement. So we know we know on your screen now, we know inductive argument, we know deductive argument. Even before we go into the substantive form of valid patterns, we at least know the names of the valid patterns that we work with. Modus ponens, also called affirming the antecedent. Modus tollens, also called denying or negating the consequent. See that? It's valid. Then hypothetical syllogism, that one didn't have another name to confuse us. And then the last one, a disjunctive syllogism. These are valid ways of deducing. Okay. The invalid ways of deducing, which we call the formal fallacies, are affirming the consequent, because the correct way of affirming is to affirm the antecedent, but this fallacy rather affirms the consequent. Whatever antecedent and consequent is, we don't know yet, and it's not a problem. But we know that if we went into that box and we want to find a fallacy, we should look for the fallacy that affirms the consequent. Or there can also be a fallacy that denies the antecedent. You don't deny the antecedent, you should affirm it. So this person either is affirming the consequent, it is a fallacy, or denying the antecedent, it is also a fallacy, or is engaged in a false hypothetical syllogism or a false disjunctive syllogism. Very good. I just gave you names of informal fallacies to help you. Good job. Now we can go on. So what else should you know as part of the ingredient for this unit 6? Very heavy content, I keep saying. So we want you to know that the correct way of distinguishing, or if you like, delineating the boundaries between deduction and induction is this, what I have showed you and I've repeated over and over again. That's the correct way of determining that one argument is deductive and the other is inductive. Don't be taken in by the claim that a deductive argument moves from general premises to a particular conclusion. That is what some textbooks tell you. They say, oh, if you want to know which argument is a deductive one, check and see if it started with general premises. So all mangoes are fruits. What I'm holding is a mango, therefore it is a fruit. They say, hey, that one is the ones we call deductive. That is true partially, but it's not wholly true, because you can have a deduction that doesn't move from general to particular. Yet it is a deduction. Okay. Then they tell you, oh, as for induction, it moves from particular premises and concludes with a general A. Everyone look here. That's what I'm telling you on your screen now. They say that. They will tell you, textbooks, they will tell you, oh, that is what makes one deduction and the other induction. The deductive ones move from general premises to particular conclusions, while the inductive ones move from particular premises to general conclusions. That is an incorrect categorization. We don't want you to imbibe that. Because I could say that Nancy is taller than Ejaya, and Ejaya is taller than Magdalene. Therefore, it will mean that Nancy is taller than Magdalene. We don't even have a general statement in what I said. There is no universality, no general claim, and yet I have deduced validly. You see, so if someone told me that, deductions move from general to particular, I would have thought that this one is not a deduction, but it is. That's why it is a false categorization. Look on your screen. Look on your screen, the first bullet point. It is wrong to say deductive arguments move from general premises to particular conclusions, whilst inductive move from particular to general. That is ambiguous. Your textbook and your tutorial sessions will give you quite a number of examples showing you how someone can argue deductively and not go by this criteria. Okay. Sometimes you're moving from general premises to particular conclusion, yet the argument you have there is not deductive, it's inductive, yet it's moving from general to particular. If I say most women, like the one we saw earlier, so let's go to that. Look at this. This one. Most Ghanaians are hospitable. That statement there is a generalization. It's a statistical generalization. You see shortly. Most Ghanaians are hospitable. That's a generalization. My mother is a Ghanaian, therefore she's hospitable. So this is moving from general to particular. Yet the reasoning is induced. The conclusion is induced onto the premises. And so we don't want you to do that. We could ask you to give instances to show, examples to show that this criterion that some textbooks have is inaccurate. In other words, give instances of premises being particular and maybe a conclusion being particular. Yet we have a deduction. Show evidence of argument patterns that contravene or contradict this claim. It can be an exam question, it can be an IE question or something like that. You have to construct an argument to show that This is deductive, for example, but yet it didn't follow the wrong category. That's why we think that this one is wrong. Okay. So what then is the correct way of doing a distinction between deduction and induction? What I have said over and over again. For a valid deductive argument, if the premises are assumed to be true, the conclusion must also be true, else you will create a contradiction. This is not so for inductive argument, where it is possible for the premises to be true, yet the conclusion false, and no contradiction will be created. Then you top it up with your fine examples, and you are done. I want to pause and take questions. So why it is topic neutral? Where is it? Deduction is topic neutral. Maybe let me top up with that very quickly. When you are deducing, you are interested in the pattern, not the content. The pattern. So if I say all shoes fly, my lecturer is a shoe, it will have to follow that my lecturer flies. Yes, it follows. If it were true that all shoes fly, and it was also true that my lecturer is a shoe, then what is true of all shoes must be true of my lecturer. So my lecturer then will fly. But this may not be actually true. If you observe out there, everyone watch your screen, please. I'm explaining topic neutral and why deduction is not interested in the subject matter. It's not looking at the content. It's looking at the pattern. Okay, so I could say all A's are B's and all B's are C's. Then it will have to mean that all A's are C's. But we know that A is not C. If it were so, then your A that you get in this course, amen. If I turn it to C, will you like it? No. You say, Doc, I got an A. But A's are not C's. So if I change your A to C, you won't like it. That means actually the content may not be speaking to concreteness, what is there in observation, but it is just interested in the form. So we take it that if it were true that all A's are B's, and it was also true that all B's are C's, then it has to be true that all A's are C's. And that is hypothetical syllogism pattern. Let's use another pattern. We'll go through them closely in a minute. If you study, then you will pass. Kofi has studied. Then it has to follow, therefore, that he will pass. You see that? By the pattern. It's Modus ponens. That's what we just did. But in actual life, it might not be true that if you study, then you pass. Maybe what we can observe is if you have money to, you will pass. Because you can pay your way through. It's not the best, but some do. See that? Or if you cheat to, you could pass. Some go with things in some places, and they pass. If the lecturer is your chatikotu, maybe you will pass. Don't try that with yours truly. So I'm just saying that it might not be actually true out there by observation. Everyone see that. But deduction is not interested in content. That is why whether or not an argument is valid is not necessarily speaking to truth. So add it to your note there. Validity is not truth. No, correct. Truth. Anoqually. How do you say it to be true? So when we say something is valid, an argument is valid, we are not talking about it being actually true, actually false. No, we are speaking about the relation or the connection between the conclusion and the premises. That is what we are addressing when we talk validity. So we say, oh, the conclusion was taken directly from the premise given. If the premises were true, then it would mean that the conclusion must also be true. It is the relationship between the premises and the conclusion of that argument that we are describing when we say the argument is a valid one. It doesn't mean that we are saying that what has been said in those statements are actually true out there. So validity is not truth. And when you are doing deduction of all forms, whether ponens, tollens, hypothetical, we are not interested in the subject matter, the content. We are only interested in the pattern, whether you obeyed the pattern of deduction to the letter. Okay. Now I tell students something, so maybe I'll tell you also. The first one that we say is ambiguous. Those who are saying that it moves from general to particular, then it is deduction. And if it moves from particular to general, then it is induction. It is a wrong way of categorizing. It is like saying women can be distinguished from men by looking at their hair. If the person has a long hair, then she's a woman. And if he has a short hair, then he's a man. You see the problem with that. That is what is happening when you do it. I can have my hair short. I can cut it short. I can even do sakura sweat. Anto pelele. Yes. And it doesn't make me any less a woman. If you go by that categorization, then the Jesus picture you have in your room there is a woman. Because that one has hair. I don't know which one you have, but most of them have hair. Do you see that? But that is not the clear, unambiguous way of distinguishing deduction from induction. I think that it is settled. Now you understand ambiguity, so I used it. We studied ambiguity in Unit 3, where you are saying one thing, but it can mean several. So when you do that, we are not clear on what you are referencing as a woman. We don't want you to be unclear about what you are referencing as what deduction and induction. So we are so done. And I think that I will pause and take questions so that we now launch into the second big chunk of our unit, which is the specific valid patterns. Raise your hand if you have a question. I see only 2 hands up. I think they wanted to read, but raise your hand, please, now, very quickly, on what we have done so far, if you have a question. Pyros, did you want to read earlier? I think so. And Emmanuel. I don't see any other hand up. So if there's a question, I'm glad to take it. If not...
No, please, I want to ask a question.
Go ahead, Emmanuel.
All right, so
Madam, be on standby.
Madam, please, does the deductive, does normative law apply for it? Because
please, we are not talking normative law. Laws are just statements. Okay, deduction is an argument, a collection of statements. Do you remember your unit 3 now? Emmanuel, do you remember your unit 3? You're muted.
Yes, please.
Yes, an argument is a collection of statements. So you put more than one statement together. One of them is what you want to say, the conclusion. The others are your premises. That is an argument. When you talk laws, whether normative or empirical, you are talking about one statement like this, which is a regularity, either a normative law and empirical law. So they are worlds apart. One is an argument, the other is a statement of law. Is it okay?
Yes, please.
Yes, keep revising. Okay, I want you to read before you come so that we are not too far away. Mimi, ask your question now. Sapate, be on standby very quickly. Mimi, you are muted. So unmute very quickly and ask your question. Tayo, Sapate, please be on standby as well if it's a question.
Fine, I get it now.
You don't have a question again, Mimi?
No, it's okay.
Okay, that's fine. Then keep your hand down. Pius, do you have a question? Please, your hand is still up. Pius. Okay, so Pius will organize himself and come back. Let's take Caleb Blay. I suspect that Pius wanted to read earlier, so he might not even know that his hand is still up. Let me lower it for him. Okay, you also raised your hand a moment ago. Are you okay?
Right, no,
so
please.
But the hand is down. I won't be able to know whether you have a need or not. So keep the hand up and let me know that I'm addressing Asimesi or Obintin. You understand? That's how you run a class. Caleb, go ahead. Unmute and ask your question.
I was just asking. At the moment, I can't really hear you well. Is the problem just on me?
Caleb, please work on your hearing, okay? The gadgets you are using, increase volume or something like that, okay? Because it's a class of over 300. I suspect that people can hear me well. So just work on your gadgets there, and we are also recording, okay? Can anyone hear me, class? You can unmute and respond.
We can hear you well.
Yes.
Okay, so Caleb, just work on yours. Sometimes it happens. So just check your gadget, or if it's a headpiece or earpiece, remove it, tweak it a bit, and you will do fine. Fine. Right. So on our screen, everyone, you will see that the second big chunk of our work for today is on knowing the syllogistic patterns. Syllogistic patterns. I want to give you 2 points to put down again, just to, like a spice to help you as you go on. So we know validity and invalidity describe deduction, and we know that an argument can be valid even when its premises are not stating the fact out there. In other words, its premises are not saying something that is true in observation out there. See, it can still be valid, even though it's not stating what is actually true in observation. For example, I gave you some. I could say all mangoes are vegetables. We know that mangoes are not vegetables in actual life, in observation. But I can say all mangoes are vegetables, and my headmaster is a mango. It will have to mean, therefore, that my headmaster is a vegetable. And this is valid. But because the premises are not true, you see that? Because the premises are not actually true in observation, this will be a valid argument, but we'll say it is not sound. So I'm teaching you soundness now in a very simple way. An argument then will be sound. We say it is sound if the premises are all what? Excuse me, when the argument is what? Valid, first and foremost, and all the premises are also what? True in actual observation. Then we will say that, oh, there's a higher quality of what? A deduction of an argument. Why a higher quality? It's not just valid, but apart from it being valid, it has an additional something. What is that? Its premises are also true. All of the premises. It means if there were 1,000 premises leading to one conclusion, all the 1,000 premises must all be true. If there were 3 of them, all the 3 statements that are constituting the premises, the grounds for the conclusion, must all be true. You see that? So what is a sound argument? A sound argument describes a what? A deduction. How do you know that? Because validity is a label for deduction. So first, a sound argument is a valid deductive argument whose premises are also what? True. Full stop. Write it down. Soundness equals validity plus what? True premises. All the premises must be true, in addition to the argument already being what? Valid. And if it is a valid argument, then we are talking a deduction, not an induction. Can you see the connection? Good job. So you know validity and invalidity. You know soundness. A sound argument already means the argument is valid. It has to be valid first, true premises, before you can say it is sound. So if the argument just has true premises, but it is not a valid one, that is not a sound argument. Okay, soundness means, first of all, we must already have the conclusion deduced correctly from the premises. Then that is valid. Afterwards, we check the actuality of those premises against what? Observation. If it is true, actually, in the world, that so and so premises, then we can say, because it is first of all valid and all of its premises are true, actually, then this is not just a valid argument, but it is what? A sound argument. Right? That's fine. Now, the third thing I want to tell you, also as a spice to add what you know, it helps you work very fast and in a coordinated manner, is that what? We can describe argument as syllogisms. That's what you see here, syllogistic argument. So you see that the 4 valid patterns you are going to study are described as syllogisms. There are 4 syllogistic patterns. What is a syllogism? Big word, nothing much. I told you last week, and they are written there. 2 premises leading to one conclusion. So you have an argument, it is a deduction you are making, and the premises are 2. leading to the conclusion. 2 steps, you see that? So from first premise, second premise, then you conclude. That will be called a syllogism. So you see that all the 4 patterns you're going to study are syllogistic in nature. It's not one premise leading to a conclusion. It's not 4 premises leading to a conclusion. No, it is a deduction where you have 2 premises and then it takes you to one conclusion. That is what we call a syllogism. So you know soundness, you know validity, invalidity, you know syllogisms. When we move a little bit ahead, the last one I'm going to tell you will be more meaningful, but I'm telling you now anyway. Sometimes we can give you just one of the premises and give you a conclusion. You have a syllogism. See, it should normally be 2 premises leading to a conclusion. But we here referring to examiners, okay, or the person arguing with you, can give you just one premise and a conclusion. And by some divine magic, you can tell what the hidden premise is. We have hidden one of the premises because of the steps. Suppose I said, all mangoes are fruits. That's the first premise. All mangoes are fruits. I didn't give you the second premise. Then I conclude, therefore, my lecturer is a fruit. Let me see if you have already started thinking very well for me. So let me start. All mangoes are fruits. Then I conclude, therefore, my lecturer is a fruit. Good. I see 3 hands up already. Raise your hands. I'm checking the class. Very good. All mangoes are fruit. My conclusion, therefore, my lecturer is a fruit. What is the hidden premise in this argument? Can I get a chorus answer?
My lecture is a mango.
My lecturer is a mango. Well done. See that when you are using the lecture, nobody's angry. When I start using your name, then nobody should get angry. Now, very good. You see what you just did? You were able to tell. Hey, Wapa. I hear you. I'm a mango. Let's continue. Listen. You see how you magically were able to tell what the hidden premise was? It's okay. You're able to tell what the hidden premise was. I gave you one premise and I concluded, but you were able to tell what the missing step was. I left one out. Hey, eh? Who is this person who is passing by making noise like this? My people don't mind them. They will pass right now. Everyone be focused. We will hit this unit easy. I was telling you that, so where I gave you one premise and a conclusion, I took out the missing premise in the middle there. What I have given you is called antecedents. Let me spell it for you on the screen. Those who have looked at it already know antecedents, okay? It is spelled like N-diamine. I'll show you shortly for those who haven't seen it, just so you can also see. Antecedents. You have to know this so that when we are mixing questions and we put those ones, it doesn't overwhelm you. It's there, but people may not look at it. The spice for your stew. So N-timing, E-N-T-H-Y-M-E-M-E. Okay, we save ourselves some time. N-timing. Now, it is not any big word. You know syllogism now, 2 premises leading to a single conclusion. You know antecedents, where I give you one premise, I give you a conclusion, and then you are to find the hidden premise. I have showed you validity and invalidity.
Madam, please spell it again.
Find it in the textbook, Auntie. I don't want to encourage that. I'll spell it again, but find it in the textbook. Will you do that for me, please? Yes, thank you. Let's go. I want you to go and look inside the textbook. It's there. Everyone, please, let's continue. A lady, I'll give it to you. I'm typing it. Antecedents. You know that. You know when the premises are true and the argument was already valid, then what you will have will be a sound argument. And so you add those to what you know already. Now let's go to the valid patterns themselves. So one of the patterns of reasoning, validly correct reasoning, is what? Produce ponens. The baby one, the one that is not too difficult. I want to do that one first. Let me show Madam the spelling. Auntie, I'm sharing the screen now. Please watch. Everyone who wants to know the spelling of end timing. Normally, I wouldn't do that, but you, for the sake of relaxing. That is it. Where is it? Can you see it now? Sister, can you see it?
Yes.
Yes,
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 madam.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yes, please. It's a better
Yes, madam.
response. Okay.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Yo, we are done. So we can move on now. Okay.
Yes,
So
please.
we know.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
So we know, and there are some people, and when they get a little space to show this thing, then but if you ask them a question right now, they what for big our background is the one I'm teasing now. We can go on. So we want to look at the patterns, and I wish you all the best. So look at the note. There's a syllogism is a form of deductive argument with blah blah blah. You know that already. We can start. I will jump all this particular in general because we'll use it again in unit 7. But let's go straight to knowing our valid patterns. Okay, so that is it. Let's see modus ponens. Another name for modus ponens is affirming the word, the antecedents. If you think you will forget, put it down. I am called Nancy Miles, but I'm also called Nancy Barford. Okay, so modus ponens. If you don't see modus ponens, you can see affirming the antecedent. It's the same thing. Modus tollens, the other type of valid pattern, is called negating the consequent. If negating means denying it, so sometimes you see denying the consequent, it's the same. It's talking about modus tollens. So the surname for modus tollens is negating the consequent. The surname for modus ponens is affirming the antecedent. They are the first two. The second two types of valid patterns are hypothetical syllogism and disjunctive syllogism. All 4 of them, therefore, are syllogisms. Why? Because they have 2 premises each leading to a single conclusion. Look at all of them. That's how they are. So they are syllogisms. Let's look at the pattern that we call modus ponens. Its name tells you what it is. The lion of the tribe of Judah. So it means a lion can roar at you, and yet he's a lamb at the same time. You see that the name speaks a lot. So affirming the antecedents tells you what modus ponens reasoning pattern does. It affirms the antecedent. That means you must know what antecedent is. See how to do it. If it's jollof rice, then when you are going to shop, you must buy rice. Not Gary. You are going to do jollof rice. You must buy rice. So modus ponens is called affirming the antecedent. Then you need to shop for antecedent. Otherwise, you can't do the meal. So we have to know what antecedent is. Now, what is antecedent and consequent? They seem to be very integral in doing your deductions, the valid one. So let's do a quick tutorial on that and come back to our valid patterns. See that? So let's go. Here we are. When I have a statement, if then, so everyone watch on my screen, watch my screen, sorry. If I have an if then statement already, let's start. If you study, then you will pass. If you wash my car, then I will give you 30 Ghana. Let's start with that one, okay? On your notepad now, wherever you are, write it. If you wash my car, then I'll give you 10 Ghana. Let's make it 10 Ghana, 30 the anybody. If you wash my car, then I give you 10 Ghana. What am I saying when I speak like this? I am giving you a conditional statement. Conditional because there are strings attached to what I will give you. The string is, you should wash my car. If you do that, then something else will follow. Then I will give you 10 Ghana. Okay. So anytime you write in a conditional way like this, if so and so and so, then so and so and so will happen. We call it in logic a conditional statement. You see that the other one is disjunction. Philosophy students amongst you, you will see that later on, you will see biconditional, you see conjunction, you see, just like in mathematics, we have addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. They help you interpret the operation that is working on the constant, on the variables. See that? Logicians have the same thing. We call them conjunction, disjunction, negation, conditional, biconditional, and so on. That is the operative sign working on the statement. So a conditional is not a disjunction. Why am I saying that? Because you see disjunctive syllogism is one of the valid patterns. Addition is not subtraction or division. They are not the same. They are all different operations on the variables, what you are putting together. We may all start with condo, but someone might finish with banku, and one might finish with cocoa. They are different meals, the porridge. The other one is the mold, banku. Meanwhile, we were all giving condo. It is what you do with it, the operation, you know. So it goes through a certain process, and then what is sitting on your table is different. Can you imagine that Gary is cassava? Yes, it is. We're all giving cassava. One person finishes with agbolima and cassava dough. The other one will finish with Gary, and someone else will finish with plakali, if you are from Nzima or something, and so on. The point then is, I want to just help you see that the operation is what changes the meaning. What you are doing with it helps us interpret. So what? So back to where we are, conditional. Conditional is a type of operation in logic. When do we have a conditional statement? When you have an if-then statement. If so and so, then so and so. If I come home early, then we'll eat fufu. See that? If it rains, then we will not play the match. If we get an importation, then we will not so and so. So these statements are conditional. Now let's pick one of them that is easy to grab so that you can get a concept. Then later on we can increase the level of difficulty. Okay. So let's use, if you wash my car, then I'll give you 10 Ghana. If I told you that, you are my friend in the area, some brother in the area, I say, oh, Wofa, if you wash my car, I'll give you 10 Ghana. Then Wofa doesn't come to wash my car, but he sees me along there and says, hey, doc, but the last time you disappointed me, pal, when I came by the home, they were not there. I said, oh, why? What is that? I was coming for the 10 Ghana you said you give me. I said, which one? Oh, but you said that you give me 10 Ghana. I said, no. I said, if you wash my car, then I'll give you. The one who washed it, I've given the money. The condition that has to be satisfied first before the consequent follows is what we call the antecedent. Anti-incident, anti-meridian. What comes before the meridian? AM is anti-meridian, post-meridian, PM. So every conditional statement has an antecedent, write it down, and a consequent. The if clause, look at your screen now. The statement that follows the if, the clause that says if. So if you look at the example on our screen, if X is a man, then X is a bully. The if clause is the antecedent. You don't add the if. You see that the if is a pointer, just like you don't add so when you conclude, they just point to it. So X is a man in our example on your screen, this one, highlighted in yellow. Everyone look at your screen, please. X is a man. That is the antecedent. How do we know that? Because it is preceded by what? If. Then if so, what is the consequent now? Everyone look on your screen and tell me the consequent of your argument there. Of your statement there. Sorry.
It's a bully.
X is a bully.
Well done. So you know antecedent. Well done. Good job. Let's try some more. So I'm going to give you conditional myself. If you wash my car, then so let's put coffee. I will give you the example. Then we'll put coffee as a variable. So we have a uniform answer throughout. Okay. If you wash my car, then I'll give you 10 Ghana. What is the consequent of my statement using coffee?
Then I'll give you 10 Ghana.
I'll give you 10
I'll
Ghana.
give you 10 Ghana.
I'll give Kofi
I'll
10
give
Ghana.
I'll give you 10 Ghana.
I give
I'll give Kofi 10
I'll
Ghana.
give you
I'll give you about 10 Ghana.
I'll
I'll give about 10 Ghana.
I'll give you
All right.
10.
I'll give
I'll give
about
you
10
10
Ghana.
I'll give Kofi 10 Ghana. Very good. Okay, let's look at it. Stop that thing you are doing now. Intentionally ignoring, can't you see? What is Eba? Okay, everyone, let's continue now. So you know consequent. Now, then the other one will be the antecedent, the if clause. Let's do one more, and then I can increase the level of difficulty a bit more. Okay. If you have a passport, then you can travel. Let's use the name.
You
Kofi.
can travel.
You can travel.
Let's use the name Kofi. I've not asked a question. I have not asked a question. So let me ask. Okay. Okay, everyone listen. If you have a passport, then you can travel. Let's use the name Kofi, and then the class should tell me the antecedents of my statement. Go.
If Kofi has the passport,
You'll be wrong. If you add if, you are wrong, because what you will have will not be a statement. See that?
Kofi has a passport.
Very good. Because you have to be able to identify. Well done, everyone. You have to be able to identify your antecedent. You use it. It's a raw material. If you go and put the granite or the palm fruit with the husk and everything into the palm nut soup, we are in trouble. And yeah, that's how to cook it. We gave you the palm fruit, yes, you did the boiling and everything, but you are going to pound it and squeeze out the juice and throw out the kernel and the husk. If you bring them along, like we have done with the if, what you will have on the table is in a mess. Your marriage is destroyed. And yeah, the cassava has to be peeled. So we don't put in the if and the then when we are finding our antecedent and consequent. And I want you to work on that very well, because we are going to affirm antecedent, deny consequent, and so on and so forth, to create modus ponens and modus tollens, and even know the invalid parties. If you don't know antecedent and consequent, you will struggle and get your things wrong. We don't want that. Okay, so one more practice. If you love me, then you will obey my commandment. What is the antecedent using Kofi?
Kofi loves me.
Kofi love me.
Okay, then you will
Good job.
Love.
That's
Kofi loves
correct. Kofi loves me. That's the antecedent. You. Then we'll find the consequent of this last one. Everyone get ready. The consequent. Now I've given the question. I finish with
You obey my command.
you tell me.
Kofi.
The consequent of what I'm going to say now.
Kofi will obey my commandment.
Kofi obey
I'm
my
now
command.
going to give the statement.
Kofi obey my
Everyone, wait. I am now going to give the statement. So listen, okay. If you are a lecturer, then you are holy. If you're a lecturer, then you are holy. Tell me.
Kofi is holy.
Yeah, give me the consequence of
You are
that
holy.
using Kofi. Everyone.
Kofi is holy.
Kofi is holy.
Eba is holy.
Kofi is holy.
Eba is
Become
holy.
the
You realize that
consequent.
the one who
Kofi is
said
holy.
you are holy will be wrong. If you say you are holy, you'll be wrong. If I give a preamble, you will be wrong. Listen, see, I said this course, it trains you to obey simple rules. If you don't know how to obey simple rules, you can't do deduction. Deduction is formal logic. Yes, the philosophers, you do elements of formal logic level 200, God willing, and you do deductive logic proper in level 300. If you don't learn, if people don't like obeying rules, just simple obedience, give, no, close the door when you are stepping out. They want to add but if, what if, no, you can't do that with this. They gave you ATM card. They said your PIN is this, or create your own PIN. You said 2211. They keyed that into the system. Go there and go and use your, when you go there, say 2211 there, but it's the same combination. I can make it 1212. Do it and see the money will come. It won't come back. You stand there and not get the money. Because you have to learn to obey very simple rules. Okay? I said use Kofi. There's a reason I want a uniform answer. If I key that into the system, and that is what the whatever. Suppose it's a fill in the gap. We don't often do that. You see that your answer will be wrong. Meanwhile, you know the thing, but you are not obeying. So everyone listen and do. Okay. For deduction, I want you to inculcate the habit. If God says you are this, you are that. Don't try to mix it and make it popo sukuku. Keep to the margins. Even the sea is obeying. The day the sea disobeys, you see how it moves from its boundaries and it's coming to where human beings live. Imagine the sky decides that now it is tired of hanging up there, so it wants to come to where the sea is so that it can come. What will happen? The whole earth is destroyed. Even nature is obeying simple obedience. Simple obedience. Nipa does an impact. We don't. Anyway, where did we get to? So everyone, please listen. When I say use the variable x, it is because I'm grooming, I'm sharpening your obedience and your rule-bound posturing so that you can know that, oh, I have to affirm antecedent before I go and affirm the consequent. Don't say, oh, either way I did it. Imagine you put the everything inside the soup before you added the granite on top. Look at what you have when you finish. You say, oh, but everything went inside anyway. No, you boil the whole chicken, finish everything with the feathers and everything. Now you say, I'm now coming to cut it and remove. The bile and everything would have been dismantled and, mixed up, corrupted the food before you are now coming to remove intestines. We don't do that. We do that. You wear the socks, then you wear the shoe on it. Do you know what I'm telling you with my long talk? I'm preparing you for the patterns. I want you to know the patterns. And these are foundations I'm laying to help you. If you wear your shoe and then you put the socks on it, haven't you worn boot? You have, but you step out and see how we all look at you. We'll be worried. What is wrong with our brother? Wear your trouser, everything. Then when you finish, you wear the boxer on top of it. You step out. You're greeting everybody in the area. We realize that, some of the strings are off. But if you did it the other way around, the boxer first, under, then the other ones are on top, and your jacket on top. That is correct pattern of what? Wearing the dress for social consumption, of course. If you got that, then we are ready to do the patterns proper. Now watch. So you know how to do if X is a man, then X is a bully. You know the antecedent and the consequent. I will come back later to show you how to use universals to form your modus ponens. You have to open the universal into a conditional like this, but we can learn that later. Right now, we have something we can do with our antecedent and consequent pattern in the form of what? If then like this. So let's go with that to develop our modus ponens valid pattern. Here we are. We are going to do this one. Everyone, please watch on your screen. What is the pattern that we call modus ponens? Here, they have used universal, but we'll work with if then. Write it down in your notepad. If you wash my car,
Sanitizer.
write what I'm saying, please. If you wash my car, then I'll give you 10 Ghana. If you wash my car, then I'll give you 10 Ghana. That's the first premise. We are doing modus ponens, Paul, Paul. Modus Paul, so that you can hear the sound. Then modus tollens will be modus Timothy. But for now, we are doing Paul. Okay, modus Paul. The valid way of doing it. So if you wash my car, then I'll give you 10 Ghana. That's the first premise. What does modus ponens say right after your universal statement like this or your conditional statement like this? It says right after this, what you should do next to make your argument valid is find the antecedent and bring it next in line. Bring it just the way it was given to you. Don't negate it. Don't change its truth value. Bring the statement that is in there as your antecedent. Bring it down right after the universal like this. So go and find the antecedent and then bring it next. Those who are writing, do that. The first premise was, if you wash my car, then I'll give you what? 10 Ghana. I've not said you should use Kofi. Kofi now. So you can say, you wash my car. That is your next premise, because you are trying to develop modus ponens. See that? You wash my car. How? Why did we go for that one? Because that's the antecedent. So we picked our antecedent, we brought it next, and then modus ponens says, now conclude your conclusion. Say, therefore, go and pick the consequent. Therefore, I'll give you 10 Ghana. Finished. You are done. You have 3 steps now. The first premise, if you wash my car, then I'll give you 10 Ghana. The second premise, you washed my car. Conclusion, therefore, bring the last one, which is your consequent. Therefore, I'll give you 10 Ghana. You have finished. What you have there is a modus ponens valid argument. Good job. Let's try. If Kofi comes home early, then he will go for a hazer. If Kofi comes home early, those who are writing, write it all. I told you last week, practice. No alitualism. If Kofi comes home early, then he will go for a hazer. That is the given main premise, the main one, the universal, the conditional. See that? That's the mother premise I've given you. If Kofi comes home early, then he'll go for a hazer. What do you think the next premise will be if we are developing modus ponens, the poor one, valid argument? All of us, I want Chorus to answer.
Kofi came home
Kofi
early.
comes home early. Came
Comes
home early.
Therefore,
Kofi comes from early.
Kofi came home
therefore,
early.
Therefore, he went for a haircut.
Therefore, he will go for the rehearsal.
very
Therefore,
good.
he
You are
went
all
for
correct. Don't mind the tense there. You are all correct. So some said Kofi came home early. Another person said Kofi shall come home early. No problem. Kofi is coming home early. Kofi has come home early. The tenses don't matter. Okay, it is the logic that matters. So Kofi came home early. Therefore, Kofi will go for a hazer. Perfect. Or therefore, Kofi has gone for a hazer. Or Kofi shall go for a hazer. Or Kofi is going for a hazer. Tenses how. It is not a problem for us. It's the logic. So you brought your antecedent next, and then you concluded with your consequent. Why? Because you were doing modus ponens pattern of reasoning. Which one came first is important. Like I told you, you can't wear your shoe first and then you wear the socks on top of the shoe and walk out. That is absurd. If you try to do that in modus ponens reasoning, we will say you have committed a fallacy. So before we go to fallacy, let's make sure the modus ponens has settled in. So what is the modus ponens pattern? Right after the main premise given to you, what should you do next? Affirm the antecedent. Take the antecedent, bring it next, and conclude with what? The consequence. We call it affirming the antecedent because of what you did when we gave you the main ingredient. What did you do when you saw the mother premise? You took the antecedent just as it was given to you. That's what it means to affirm. Yeah, what is that? I don't know how to say it in Ghana. You affirmed it. You picked what was given to you originally and you brought it down. So you didn't introduce a not. You didn't put a not there. It's not home early or no, you just picked the original statement. So or if originally there was a not inside, you would have brought the not as it was given to you. See that? Affirming the antecedent therefore means right after your conditional statement, pick the antecedent, bring it next, and then conclude with a consequent. We name this valid pattern modus ponens, also called affirming the antecedent. The name is attached to the second premise, what you did after we gave you the main premise, not the conclusion, because there's an affirmation in the conclusion too. But the conclusion is not a premise, and you didn't do that first. If you got it, let's do one or two more, and then we are done with what? Modus ponens. And we spent a lot of time on modus ponens because it's the first one. You see that now we'll just relate the ideas to the second and the third and the fourth. And that one we can be a bit more spot on. Okay. And we will still understand and you can practice. I want you to understand. Now I'm done. This one I can finish in 15 minutes. But I want you to understand with more examples and more, spices to whip it up for you. So let's do this one together. I'm going to give you the main premise still in the form of a conditional, easy, so that you find antecedent quickly and work. Then later on, we can do the universal. Write it down, everyone. Modus ponens valid pattern, also called affirming the antecedent. That's what we are doing. The statement I want to give to you, the conditional statement I'm giving to you so that you will expand it into a modus ponens is this. Ready, everyone? Write it down. If Amma has a passport, then she can travel. If Amma has a passport, then she can travel. Develop it into a modus ponens valid argument. Let me see. Raise your hand when you are done. If Amma has a passport, then she can travel. I see only 5 hands. So when you finish, raise your hand. We are doing modus ponens, which is also called affirming the antecedent. That's what we are doing. We are trying to affirm the antecedent. Good, very good. Now I see 18, 19. Good job. I think I'm confident that your answers are correct. I'll choose someone. Ella Mobodai, give me yours. So if Amma has a passport, then she can travel. We are doing modus ponens. Ella, go ahead. Unmute first.
Amma has a passport, therefore she can travel.
Excellent. That's correct. That's modus ponens. If someone rather went to affirm the consequent, right after we gave the conditional statement, if the person went to affirm the consequent and rather concluded with the antecedent, we will have a problem with them. It is incorrect. There's a logic behind it, but I won't bore you with it. It's a Venn diagram thing. When you place the subset, is inside the mother set. So if you affirm the consequent, you will create an invalid deduction. Let me give you an example of the invalid deduction that we call the fallacy of affirming the consequent. If you are affirming, that is bringing it as it was given to you, you have to bring the antecedent first. The direction matters, and which one came first matters. I've told you about your boxer and your pant, the trousers. You cannot wear the trouser, wafa, ata, and wear your apology, say, the supporter on it. Then you are at the station there going to buy a house cocoa in the morning. What do you want us to make of you? That is a problematic. Also the wafa. That would be problematic. So which one? Did you eat about this morning? Enegusi over.
But as someone is new.
Oh, sir. I didn't know. Okay. I thought that you said that it's Eba. Okay, I get it now.
Oh, nah.
Everyone, listen. You say, we'll have a problem with that. You see, because you cannot. So I want you to have that in. Don't say, oh, dog, but after I affirmed this one, I still brought that. It's problematic. 2211 is your pain to assess your money. Then you say, I'm doing 1122. How will you enter Sakai? If they gave you a pen to assess with your student ID, and you said you don't like 2211, or you think, oh, 2211 and 1122, this is the same. Key it in and let's see if you can get to Sakai. The assignment will be overdue. Okay. So if you got that, then understand that the correct pattern that we call modus ponens is what you have so far done well with. You can do. As soon as you have your conditional, find the antecedent as it was given to you, with or without a knot. If there is not inside, that is what was given to you. Carry everything. Take all like that and bring as your next premise. If they didn't give you not, they gave you the statement without a negation in it, no problem. Bring that one. So affirm it means bring antecedent as it was given to you. Affirm the antecedent. Then what? Then conclude with the affirmation also of the consequent. That is not our headache. Our headache is what you did in the middle there. So we are saying that if someone, instead of affirming the antecedent, rather goes to affirm the consequent. How? The person says, if Amma has a passport, then she can travel. Next premise, she says, Amma can travel. Therefore, the person concludes she has a passport. That is not valid. I hope you can see that. That is not valid, Tom. Why? There's a logic behind, like I told you, but we can't waste all the time proving something. You're not here to prove why. Because Amma could have been on a special case. Amma could be a diplomat. Amma could be the citizen of the world. She doesn't need a passport. There might be an emergency. So many reasons can lead to how people travel. One of them is if you have a passport. Another one, if you have you are a whatever to. I don't want to say something. So look on our screen. I'm showing you the fallacy.
Can anyone hear, madam?
Hey. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, so well.
Yes, please.
Yes,
The
madam.
way the sister asked, I thought that I was alone. My lady,
Oh,
check your headpiece, eh? Or your
Now
gadget.
you are,
Increase
you
the
are not
volume.
alone.
Okay, shall be well.
You will
My
never
lady,
walk
shall be well.
alone.
We are recording too, so hopefully we can share that.
Liverpool.
Right, I'm here. Everyone, please look. So the fallacy of a fallacy means error. Don't go and learn that as the correct pattern. You fallacy of affirming the consequent. If you affirm the consequent, it will be an error. That is what is going on our screen. All x's are y's. That's the first premise. Then look at where the problem is. This one, second premise. The person says this thing is a y. So we should say that it is an x. No. Look at all mangoes are fruits. Then you say this thing is a fruit. So we should say it is a mango. No, not necessarily. All mangoes are fruit means inside the set of fruits, there is mango. But there can also be banana and pineapple. They are all different sets inside the mother set. See that? So when I say all x's are y's, the subset is the x, the baby set is the s, the pregnant one, which is inside the y. That is why when you go and affirm the y, which is the consequent, we can't legitimately necessarily conclude, therefore, that the thing is an x. We are in trouble if you do that. Therefore, you do not affirm the consequent. You affirm the antecedent. There's the correct one. Look on my screen. Where is it? So I showed you the fallacy. You affirm. So this one, if we wanted it to be modus ponens, what should we have done? Let me ask the class. Raise your hand. I'll lower all hands, please. And then if you wanted it to be a valid modus ponens, all hands lowered now. Please raise your hand if you want to change what I've done there. All x's are y. This one is a fallacy. So we want Isabella, go ahead. We want the valid modus ponens, then I'm done.
We affirm the antecedent.
Yes, so please say it. Say it from beginning to the end to represent a valid pattern called modus ponens. Okay, do it.
All x's and x.
Isabella, I can't hear you. Oh, is it your background that is noisy like that? Oh, so sorry. Let's take Odimafo Odro. Odimafo, please go ahead. I don't mind them. Oh, people, please. Odimafo, go ahead. Go ahead.
All x's are y. This thing is
I just disabled Ejaya's mic. Were you using Ejaya's mic? And they disabled because there was noise at the background. I see Olive's mic is not muted, but I don't think it is noisy, so I don't disable it. Jasmine, go ahead.
All x's are y. X is a y. So this thing is an x.
Okay, that is partially correct, not fully. The second one wasn't correct. So let me hear Desmond. Desmond, add to that. Okay, go ahead. Where are my people? Be by your gadget so that we save time. Desmond. Okay, Lemuel. Go ahead, Lemuel.
All x are y's. This thing is an x, so it is a y.
Excellent. Well done. That's what I'm looking for. That's modus ponens, the valid one. So this person, instead of doing the valid one that we know of, rather said this thing is a y, and so we should say it's an x. What have we learned? A valid pattern called modus ponens. We use the conditional to do it. And so it was easy for us to find our antecedent and the consequent. And that is what we have practiced. Then we quickly saw the error that tries to affirm, but affirms the wrong thing. It affirms the consequent and rather concludes with an affirmation of the antecedent. And we say that is the fallacy of affirming the consequent. You don't affirm the consequent, you affirm the antecedent. So you know modus ponens and you know the fallacy of affirming the consequent. Now, I could have given you my conditional statement in a disguised form. So come to my screen now. I could have given you all mangoes are fruits. And now you don't know which one is your antecedent and your consequent. No worries. You have to expand it. Expand it to show your antecedent and your consequent. Are we able to do that? Yes. I could give you the live chicken. Then you will kill it, peel the feathers off, and then cut it into the sizes that you want to use to prepare the soup. Okay, I could have given you the live chicken, but you could also have bought the dressed chicken already from the shop. What we worked with earlier, which is the conditioner, is already dressed chicken. You can see antecedents and consequences in there. So when you go, you just pick it, boom, do some small touch-ups here, spices on, ready, food is, no. This one, where I gave you universal statement, you are now going to do one more time. Firewood, come and do one more time and put the chicken inside. You see that? But you are able to do it ultimately. So I'm showing you how to expand a universal into what? An antecedent and a consequent. And then you are good to go. Ijaya, I'm going to free you now. Where's Ijaya? I've disabled my friend's mic. So he can't even unmute over there. You are laughing at me. Raise your hand so that I see you quickly. If you raise your hand, you come up. I speak so that I make it. Very good. I have to allow your mic. All right, I have done that. Now, I was showing you how to expand. So if I say all mangoes are fruits, how do you write this as a conditional? Just say if X is a mango, then X is a fruit. That's all. If X is a mango, then X is a fruit. That's what we mean when we say all X, all mangoes are fruit. I'm saying if X, any variable at all, is a mango, then that thing is a fruit. All metals expand when heated. If X is a metal, then X will expand when heated. All cats are mammals. What will it be? Use X. Chorus answer. All cats are mammals. Go, everyone. I want it in a conditional form.
If X is a cat, X is a mammal.
The cat.
Very good.
X is a
Obviously, X is a mango.
Very good. Yeah. Good job. If I said all mangoes are nutritious, use the variable Y. Expand it into its conditional form. Let me see. All mangoes.
If Y is a mango.
If Y
If Y is a mango. Y is nutritious.
Then Y is nutritious. Good job. That's all. So as soon as we do it, yes, my lady, you are right. As soon as we do it that, then you are able to tell what your antecedent is and your consequent is. Remember, then you can use it to prepare your meal, whether you are doing modus ponens or modus tollens, right? So let's go back to that part of the slide, that habit, for your referencing if you have to fill in some gaps. So we have done this, we have done that, we have done deduction, we have done a recall of argument. Everyone keep looking on my screen. We practiced 2 types of arguments. We discussed further. We showed you how to correctly distinguish the two. We even showed you the incorrect one and emphasize that deduction is topic neutral. It is not interested in the subject matter. It's interested in the pattern. Then we started with our valid patterns. I told you that these are here. Now we'll come. Look at this. So when I say men are bullies, let's go to where we expanded. Everyone, please look on my screen. I'm helping you with something very important. Ghanaians are hospitable. It's like say if X is a Ghanaian, then X is what? Hospitable. Christians worship on Sundays. How will you write that as a conditional, everyone?
If X is a Christian,
If X is a Christian, X worship on Sunday.
Very good. How about the third one? Alcoholics are womanizers. Go. I want a chorus answer. I'm hearing a lot of
If X is a
It's a
alcoholic, X
X is a womanizer.
Sure. Very good. Well done. Now look on your screen. I want to show you something. You are all correct. Very good. I listened. I heard you. Now, sometimes a universal statement will not be. Please watch. This is the part that's controversial. So watch, okay? Don't take. I said don't be complacent. Be happy, yeah, be excited and all, but be related because I'm teaching you something. Okay. Oh yeah, Jimmy. Everyone watch. You're going there. So I may give you a universal, which is not straightforward like the ones you've done. It's not affirmative. All these have done that. Anytime this and that. Women are this. Cats are mama. This. Those are easy. See how we're able to do it. But what if it is a universal negative? It's not an affirmative one. It's a universal anyways, but not affirmative. It's not positive. Alcoholics are womanizers. That is, if X is an alcoholic, then X is a womanizer. It's straightforward, hombre. You will not struggle. But here, look at the second one. The universal negative patterns. No man is perfect. How do you expand it into a condition? It is also a conditional. That one says, if I say no man is perfect, I mean if X is a man, then X is not perfect. The not goes into the consequent when you expand it. Everyone watch. So no man is perfect on your screen. If you expand it, it will be what? If X is a man, then X is not perfect. Second one, no cat is a dog. No cat is a dog means if X is a cat, then X is not a dog. We're looking at how to expand, how to open out a universal negation. If X is a cat, then X is not a dog. So what would the last one on your screen be? No goats require vaccinations. I want a chorus answer.
If
X is a good, X does not.
doesn't require vaccination.
You are all correct. If X is a good, then X does not require vaccination. So the not goes into the consequent. And as soon as you expand it like that, that is your given statement, which you are going to develop into modus ponens or modus tollens pattern. Okay, so far we have done only modus ponens, and we have used conditional statements to do it. And we have also worked on universal affirmative statements and how you should expand it to get your antecedent and your consequent. No matter how you arrived at your antecedent and your consequent, when you create that statement there, the conditional, your antecedent as it was given to you is what you bring next. If it has a not in it, you bring it with a not. Then you conclude with what? The consequent. So let's practice with a universal negation now on modus ponens, but using a universal negative mother premise. Excuse me. Let's work with no man is perfect. It's easier to grab. Okay. Everyone write it down. Your first premise is no man is perfect. I want you to create a modus ponens valid argument. Paul. Modus ponens valid argument using the variable Kofi. I want a uniform answer. So use Kofi. What is your starting point? No man is perfect. Who is finished? Raise your hand. Modus ponens still, but we are working with a universal negative, not a universal affirmative this time around. Only 4 people are finished. Okay, I see 10 now. Keep going. When you finish, raise your hand. I'm checking the classes participation as well. Very good. So no man is perfect. We are doing modus ponens. Judith, answer. As Judith is answering, staff will be on standby.
Kofi is a man. Therefore, he is not perfect.
Excellent. Good job. Well done. I'm not adding it because I'm happy. Listen, so Judith got it exactly correct. If X is a man, then X is not perfect. That's what I meant. If I said no man is perfect, that's how you rewrite it. As soon as you rewrite it that way, you will know your antecedent and you will know your consequent, your raw material. Then they say do something with it. What should I do? They say modus ponens. When I say I mean I feel you affirm your antecedent. So you just pick your antecedent after that, bring it next, and conclude with what your consequent as it was given to you. The not there was given. So Madame just picked that and concluded with it, and she's done. This shouldn't take 2 minutes if you go and sit at your IO or your final exam. You will finish with confidence and know that I'm done. This was valid. I constructed a valid argument by modus ponens or tollens. If you don't know, you can sit 30 hours. That's not the time. They give us a what? So practice. Whether I give whether I gave you raw chicken or I gave you feathered chicken or I gave you feathered chicken that is alive, it's not even dead. You're not going to cut off the neck before you do the warm water and stuff. Whatever it is, I want chicken soup on my table. For do see that. So these are the ingredients I've given you. First, no antecedent and consequent. Barbara, if you don't know how to get antecedent and consequent, because I gave you a universal, I just showed you how to process that, Erica. Open it out, expand it. It might even have been a dead chicken, bola chicken, no problem. The universal negation, and still spice it with some so and so and so. Open it out. Keep your antecedent as antecedent and watch the consequence. Then ensure that you are not wearing your boxer before you wear your trousers. Hey, after you wear your trousers, that one will be trouble. So make sure antecedent came first, then consequent concluded. Then name 96, 92, 90, and yes, sir. Cut Ima and father will be on standby. If you got that, we are so done with modus ponens and all its intricacies. We can now move. And now that you know universal negative, you know universal affirmative, you know conditional, you can tell antecedent and consequent. If I tell you now to go and see the antecedent and consequent, that's what I'm rolling on your screen. Conditional, where you have a universal negation, how to do it. If you want some more practices in the slides there, I put it there. Okay. No humans have feathers, means if X is a human, then X has no feathers. So the negation goes into the consequent. You know syllogism already. Look at your screen. You know syllogism. Syllogism a note on negation. Now let's polish up with this one. This one is akokobesa, the mint, and the one you put, the spice you put on the chicken. You have to know this. So look on your screen. If you have a statement, Kofi is a boy, what is the negation of the statement Kofi is a boy? I want a chorus answer. All of us.
Kofi is not a boy.
Kofi is not a boy. Good job.
Kofi is not a boy.
You are all correct. So it means if the original statement is Kofi is not a boy, What will be the negation of this statement? Kofi is not a boy. What will it be? All of us.
Kofi is a boy.
Kofi is a boy.
Kofi is a boy.
Good. Kofi is a boy. So nege. So you see, two negations cancel themselves out, and the thing becomes positive. That's why we say nege. Do you remember? So you have to have, yes, everyone listen. You have to have that in mind for what we are going to do now, the modus tollens. Because brothers and sisters in the Lord, Paul is not Timothy. Ponens, it is not tollens. They are all modus. Their starting point is the same, but they don't end the same. Paul, that is modus ponens, is not modus tollens. The patterns are not the same. So let's check that out. When you have modus tollens, the surname for modus tollens, we are going back to that place, everyone watch, is what on my screen, negating the consequent, or if you like, you say denying the consequent. It means after you find your antecedent and consequent, the same way we did for modus, the senior modus we did earlier, you make sure you have your antecedent, you have your consequent, whether I gave it to you as a universal, or I gave it to you as a affirmative or negative universal or condition, whatever it is, you clearly know antecedent and consequent. Modus tollens says this is how you do modus tollens. Listen, right after your first statement or the conditional statement, modus tollens say go to the consequent first. But whatever is given to you there, negate it. And let that one be the next premise. So the next premise after your conditional will be the negation of the consequent. That's why we call it negate the consequent. Negate it, deny it, turn it upside down. So you are starting with the consequent this time around. It is modus tollens, but you bring it negated. Then you will now conclude with the antecedent, also what? Negated. That's the pattern. That will be correct. But this deduction is not modus ponens. Ponens says affirm the antecedent. Then you can conclude with an affirmation of the consequence. But modus tollens says, no, brother, we don't affirm in this house. We negate. But because we want it to be valid, we negate the consequent first, and then we conclude by negating the what? The antecedent. That's the pattern. So on our screen, everyone watch, we are doing tollens now. Let's read it together. All of you go. All mangoes, go. 1, 2.
All
All
monkeys
monkeys
are this thing
this
not
thing
this
is not
thing is not so
It's not
this
so.
is not
Very good. Don't worry. I could hear everyone, and I'm sure you could hear yourself too. I will repeat it for those who may have missed some. Look, all mangoes are fruits. This thing is not a fruit. That's correct. Therefore, this thing is not a mango. So you see that we are negating both the second premise and the conclusion, but we make sure we bring the consequent first. We negate the consequent first. Then we conclude by negating the antecedent. That is valid. That is modus tollens. So let's try the examples we had earlier. If Amma has a passport, then she can travel. Everybody write it down. If Amma has a passport, then she can travel. Let's do modus tollens. You're doing Timothy now. And I want a hand up. Don't speak chorus now. People get confused. If Amma has a passport, yeah, then she can travel. I just lowered all the hands, sorry. So you can raise it now. Okay, Abed. Is that Abed Nico? No, Lois. Lois, go ahead. Lois Baba. Everyone listen, let me give the
Amma
starting
cannot
point. If Amma,
travel.
maybe sister Baba, give you a minute. If Amma has a passport, then she can travel. Sister, go on.
Amma cannot travel if she does not have a passport.
Okay, so this is how you say it. Amma cannot travel. Therefore, she does not have a passport. You see, the if doesn't come in again. So we are bringing the consequent first. Amma cannot travel. Why? Because the original one says she can. If Amma has a passport, then she can travel. Our consequence is she can travel. So we bring the consequent rather first, but this time negated. She cannot travel. Therefore, then we go and bring the antecedent next. Also what negated. Therefore, she does not have a passport. And that is correct. Good. Let's add one more. Dogs back. That's a universal statement. This is if X is a dog, then X backs. So dogs back. Let's use parrot. When you finish, raise your hand. We are doing Modus tollens, Timothy now. Dogs back. Hey, some find my team to lower their hands. So please hold on. I've lowered all the hands now. Sorry, so you can raise your hand. You have done very well, eh? The class is very good. You engage the content, and that's very, very good. It shows. Okay, dogs back. So let me take I'm trying to balance it here. Abednego, Yomaza. Abednego, please answer for us. Dogs back. Adding tollens. Oh dear. Yusuf, Ibrahim, are you there? Yusuf, Ibrahim, are you there? Amos Gamo. Go ahead, Amos.
Okay, Doc, please, it goes this way. If X is a dog, then X barks. X does not bark. Therefore, X is not a dog.
That's fine. I said use parrot. I said use parrot. So next time use that, okay? So that your answer will be exactly what you were asked for, but the pattern is correct. So dogs bark. A parrot does not bark. Therefore, a parrot is not a dog. That is Modus tollens. Very
All
good.
Right,
now I want you are welcome. Let me give you a relatively tough one. It's a bit tougher than what you have done so far, just to test your muscle, you yourself. So let's give ourselves this. If it does not rain, write it down. Everybody write. If it does not rain, then we will go to church. Since you are sorry. So if it does not rain, then we'll go to church. I want Modus tollens, Timothy. The men have been separated from the look way. Campbell, go ahead. The anointing has reached you. Ready, Campbell? Go ahead. Oh, Campbell, the way you have meant to say, now we have to mute you. Apologies, sir. Campbell's background is not. Abraham, Father Abraham, help us. Quick. We have some few minutes left, but I think we've covered a lot of good ground. Go ahead.
We will not go to church because it has rained.
Because in Nemo. Thank you, but there's no because now. So the pattern must be followed. Thank you, Abraham. Let's ask someone else to add. Listen, okay. Olive, you see that you can't unmute your mic. I've disabled it, that's why. Because it was making a lot of noise. When I mute all day, you will mute it again. That's why you can't unmute it. Don't get frustrated. I have disallowed your mic. Rashida, Abdul. If it does not rain, then we will go to church. I want Modus tollens. Find your consequent, find your antecedent, and make sure that you are bringing the consequent as it was given to you first, but this time what? Negated. You turn it upside down. Then you conclude with your antecedent, also what? Negated. That's all. Simple. Conclusions start with therefore, so, hence, there's no because in conclusion. Okay, so we have built up a lot. Ashida, go ahead.
Okay, we will not go to church. Therefore, it rained.
Excellent. What bing? Oh shit. Rashida is burning. Rashida is correct. If it does not rain, then we will go to church. So she says, okay, the consequence is we will go to church. So she says, we will not go She introduced the not. That means, therefore,
Yes. Not.
it rained. It rained here is a negation of the antecedent because we said if it doesn't rain. So she took out the not there. And so she has negated both. She negated consequent first and concluded with a negation of the antecedent and formed a beautiful modus tollens. Let's add one, man. That's very, very difficult. What I gave is a combination of negations in modus tollens. Papa. So she's done very well. And I saw quite a number of answers, more than 26 or so. Okay. So I'm sure if we could call everybody, we would have had a bigger number. That's why I'm impressed with the class. All right. Let's give one more example of modus tollens, still with what? Universal negations. What I'm giving you as raw material are live chickens with their feathers on. And I want chicken soup in 1 hour. So there's a lot of work on it, but you can do it. Watch. Suppose I said, Abraham, if you do not study hard, then you will not pass the course. If you do not study, then you will not pass. See that? Both antecedent and consequent are negated. Now I want you to develop a modus tollens deductive validity. Use the name Yao. Good. The hands are already up. If you do not study, then you will not pass. Is it your man's or you man's? Please answer for me. I hope I pronounce your name well. Go ahead.
Shit.
Yes, please.
Go
You
on now.
pass. You
Therefore,
pass. Therefore, you study.
Excellent.
Huh.
You are burning, my brother.
Oh shit.
Fire service.
Oh shit.
You hear fire service. Banabin.
Oh shit.
So it's not your own. It's not that kind of shit. His own he has bent. He has, if you don't speak to my friend, you man, it just means you are too smart. That's why. I just wanted to.
I don't see wow. Fire service.
Fire service. We need fire service to come and tone down the heat. Everyone listen.
Why? Everybody
Yeah, everybody steady. Let's finish. I want to prompt. Watch your colleague. You will think it's very simple, eh? When it is done, it looks like it's very simple. It is not. That's why I want to encourage folks by telling them they've done. Watch. The gentleman brought the consequent first. Oftentimes we will think and say, watch, if you study, then you will pass. You see that? My giving statement, if you do not study, then you will not pass. Someone will say, they did not study, therefore they did not pass. It's not correct. For tollens, it will be correct for ponens, what I gave you, because you would have just brought your antecedent and concluded with your consequent. Okay, but here we are doing tollens. Tollens says, bring consi first, negated. Then conclude with anti, also what? Negated, and that will be valid. I hope folks got it. If I could have given the antecedent negated and the consequent rather positive, it won't matter. Just know the principle and keep to the rules. That's all. 2211. You go to the ATM, you key in 2211. No allicholism. No, after all, it's the same thing. Who told you? It is not. Keep to the rules. So you know ponens, you know tollens, and all the encomiums around them. I could have given you one premise and a conclusion, and you would have found the hidden premise. That type of reasoning where I gave you the premise and left out one of them for you to find it would be is the one we said is enthermeme, and you know syllogisms, and you know soundness and validity, and how it is that you can have deductions of 4 types validly done, and you can have, formal fallacies trying to do the deduction. You see the number of things you know within this short time you can be confident about. That's how you learn. There's still a few more to go, but I think that I'll just touch on the fallacy of affirming. Hey, no, we have done the affirming one. The one that affirms the consequent, you can do it easily. I'm going to show you the fallacy that instead of denying the consequent, it rather denies the antecedent. You see that it's trying to do modus tollens, what your 5 friends just did. It's trying to do that, but it doesn't do it well. Look, that's what's on your screen. all x's are y's. If it is correct modus tollens, the next premise must say this thing is not a y. Then we can say then therefore it is not an x and it would be valid. But the person doesn't do that. See what is happening there. See where the arrow is pointing to. It says all x's are y's. This thing is not an x. It negates the x, the antecedent, and so says that therefore it is not a y. Everyone watch. All mangoes are fruits. This thing is not a mango. Then I want to conclude, then therefore it is not a fruit. That is not valid. All mangoes are fruits means mangoes are a subset of fruit. Mangoes are inside the set, the big set called what? Fruits. It doesn't prevent bananas also from being there. And pineapples, they are all inside the big set. So if your next premise says this thing is not a mango, it only means it's outside the circle of mangoes. You cannot conclude, therefore, that it is outside the big rectangle. You don't have the mandate to say that. So all Greater Accra is in Ghana. And I'll end with that. Greater Accra is in Ghana. Then you say, Nancy is not in Greater Accra now. Therefore, you want to conclude, therefore, she's not in Ghana. What about Kumasi? They are all in Ghana too. So if I say Greater Accra is in Ghana, it doesn't mean America probably. It doesn't mean when I say she's not in Greater Accra, it doesn't necessarily mean she's not in Ghana. Can you see that? Because the first premise said all mangoes are fruit. That's the first premise. It shows us the margins. So all Greater Accra is in Ghana. Doesn't mean all Ghana is in Greater Accra. One is a subset of the other. Which one is the subset? The antecedent is the subset of the consequent. Antecedent is inside the consequent with other antecedents. I hope you got it. That's the logic that I was saying. I don't want to bore you with it. If you symbolize it, you see, when we do the in-person, I just hope I'm able to. If not, there are a lot of hands there. They can help you, especially your TAs. They are closer to you in terms of they were in student many years ago, so they can do the tutoring with you. Then you can flow easy. Yeah? Ask them, they'll practice more with you. One is a subset. So if one comes, if I say all politicians are corrupt, it doesn't mean all corrupt people are politicians. No. All politicians are corrupt means politicians, if it were true, it means politicians are inside the set of corrupt people. There is space in that set of corrupt people for lecturers too. And for the journalist who is reporting it, there is space in the set. It's big enough to accommodate everybody. Okay, so the antecedent is not the consequent, and the consequent is not the antecedent. The antecedent is the baby inside the consequent. Therefore, if you deny the antecedent, you say, oh, it is not in the antecedent, you can't conclude with certainty that therefore it is outside the consequent. That is the problem with this one, where the person is denying the antecedent. If you do that, you create a formal fallacy called fallacy of what? Deny or negating the antecedent. Wow. Good job. You have done very well. Oh. I wasn't sure that we get here. We didn't even rush. Yes, sir. You have a question there?
Yes,
please. Is there a question? Sir? Okay, so let me lower all the hands. We are just left with two babies. That one, I'm sure Lady Lucy can even mop up with you during the course of the week, even before you meet. We meet you next weekend, God willing. Okay, you have to do unit 7 too. Unit 7, we will do it. It's part of your IE questions. Let me see the date. Today is 28. We'll do up to unit 7. So hopefully we can move. Please let me take the questions. Raise your hand, dear friend, if you have a question. I'm lowering it so we don't get it confused. Good. I've lowered all the hands now. Okay, my friend. So please raise your hand there. I want to see who is asking the question. I think it was Abel. Am I right? Or Prince? One of you. So unmute and ask your question.
Okay, madam.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so madam, in a case of the fallacy, what if I say all mangoes are fruits, and I say this pen is not a mango, therefore it is not a fruit. Is it a fallacy?
I'm coming up, please. All mangoes are fruits. That's your first statement, right?
Yes.
This pen is not a mango.
Yes.
Is that what you said? I want to compare. So you just negated the antecedent. Then you say,
Yeah.
therefore, it is not a fruit. So it is a fallacy. The fallacy that negates the antecedent. You don't negate the antecedent. Do you see that?
Okay.
But if you said all mangoes are, you're welcome. If you had said all mangoes are fruits, this thing is not a fruit. Therefore, it is not a mango. That's modus tollens. If you said this thing is a mango, therefore it is a fruit, modus ponens. I'm trying to show you that it's not the actual meaning of it that we are using to do validity. So I could have said all birds are elephants, and my lecturer is a bird. Then it has to mean, therefore, that my lecturer is an elephant, and it will be valid by modus ponens. Just that it is not sound. Okay. So just know that the patterns are for validity and not for soundness. The last two, Nadine, I can end with this. You're welcome. The last two, I saw three other hands. Let me do hypothetical syllogism and disjunctive. Those ones are not difficult. Hypothetical syllogism pattern says all A's are B's. Then all the B's are also what? C's. Then you can say, therefore, that all A's are C's. Look on your screen platform. Watch. Hypothetical syllogism. Very easy. All mangoes are fruits. See that fruit is a consequent in the first premise. All mangoes are fruits. In the second premise, it is an antecedent. All fruits are something else. Edible, nutritious, what have you. Okay. So because it is a consequent in the first premise and an antecedent, one thing is playing both antecedent and consequent role. So it will cancel itself out. Then you can move it and conclude, therefore, that all mangoes, the starting point, are what? Edible, the last point. That is it. So let's try our hands on hypothetical syllogism. All women are cheats, and all cheats will go to hell. My lady, sorry. Therefore, that will mean, therefore, what? All of us.
All women will go to hell.
All women will go to hell. All women will go to hell.
All
All women will go to hell.
all women will go to hell.
Go to hell.
Okay, my lady. It's fine. Let's look at the next one. Whenever it rains, it's okay. Whenever it rains, the ground gets wet. When the ground gets wet, there is bountiful harvest. What's the conclusion, therefore?
When it rains,
Whenever it rains, there are bountiful harvest.
Excellent. That's hypothetical syllogism. It's not any headache. Okay, we are done. What you don't want to do is what we don't want to do in the name of hypothetical syllogism. The false one. Watch. This one says all A's are B's. What? They use X and Y. So let me give you that. All X's are Y's. Look at the next premise. All Z's are also Y's. That's our problem. We don't have a common factor. We don't have Y here being a consequent and being an antecedent at the same time in the next line. You see that? We don't have any such. This X here is not antecedent and consequent. In other words, the person is arguing that because X people are Y's and Z people are also Y's, we should conclude that all X people are Z. This one is not a Z created, it's a parallelism. Okay. All Christians go to the bar, and all armed robbers also go to the bar. Therefore, you say all Christians are armed robbers. Why? The Christians may be going there to convert. The armed robbers may be going there to steal. The fact that two people go to the same place or get to the same consequence doesn't mean they are the same. This one. It would have been correct if I said all X's are Y's, watch, and all Y's are what? Z. Then that one the premises made us deduce that way. See that all x's are y and all y's are also z. Then we will have to conclude that all x's are z. Think of it. So let me give you one practical one again. If we say all mangoes are fruits, it means all mangoes are inside the set of what fruits? That's the first one. And all fruits are nutritious. Then the fruits too will be inside the nutritious one. So it will be three sets. The mango is the smallest one inside the fruits. And the fruits will also be inside nutritious. So three full sets, each one of them, one inside the other, one inside the other. That is hypothetical syllogism. By the time you plot it out, you will see that all mangoes are already inside the nutritious set. Okay, so that is the logic of hypothetical syllogism. We don't want you to say all mangoes are fruit. Then you leave the fruits there. Then you go and take something else. All oranges are also fruits. Therefore, we should conclude that all mangoes are oranges. That is a false hypothetical syllogism. That's the fallacy that is trying to do hypothetical syllogism. Doesn't do it well. See that? It's a false one. Oh dear, thank you, Lord. And the last one is disjunctive syllogism. I told you those ones are not difficult. They are not counterintuitive. There's the way we think already. It's the modus ponens and the brother modus tollens that are a bit tricky. We are done with hypothetical syllogism. Look at disjunctive syllogism from the word disjunction. That's the only valid pattern that will be working with or. The compound working there is not if then. It's not conditional or universal. It's or. So we call it a disjunction. You are either A or B. Listen to this one very well. People even teach it wrongly. Some textbooks teach it wrongly. Watch. When you do the deduction, these are closed concepts. So when you test it, you see that the one that is wrong will show. When you do the proof, you will show. We know how to test for validity. So watch. I want to teach you the correct one. You can also help others just in case they are struggling. Watch. Disjunctive syllogism from the word disjunction. The operation sign is the disjunction. So that's the first clue. If you have to check to see if an argument is valid by modus ponens or something. If it is either or, it can be modus anything. It can be hypothetical anything. Because hypothetical syllogism and all the two moduses are using the compound called conditional. It's like they're all addition. Then this last one alone is subtraction. So that's a good sign for you. The disjunction sign is or. Where is that described disjunction? Either or. Okay. So we are done. Wow. I'm done. Let me end with this one. Watch. So what is the pattern? It says A or B, not A. Then you can say it is B. Or I could say not B. Then you say it is what? A. It's like the pendulum or the seesaw. I am at school or I am at the office. Not at school, then office. Not at school means the other side comes down. Immediately the other one will come up. See that? This is not tollens. Tollens, both of them are negated. And the starting point is if then. It is not a disjunction. Okay. So back to disjunction, one more example. I save at Barclays, watch the screen, or I save at Stanchart. I don't have an account at Barclays, a negation of one of the alternatives. Then I can conclude that the account is at the other one, the other bank. Okay. Today is Friday or today is Saturday. I have checked, and today is not Friday. A negation of one of them in the premises. Then you can conclude that it is the other one. See that? Now, the false one, which we haven't captured in our book, so we didn't worry with it, is where the person wants to say A or B. The next premise says A, therefore you should conclude that not B. That's not correct. Okay, it is not. You can delve a bit more into that later on. The valid one is what I've showed. The correct way is A or B, first premise. Next premise should negate one of the options. So the negation happens in the premises. Then the conclusion will be the other one left after you negate it. Okay. So A or B, not A, therefore B. A or B, not B, therefore A. Both are valid. What is not correct, it's invalid. And I say people teach that. So you have to watch. When you test for validity, it's wrong. People say A or B, A, therefore you should conclude not B. It's not correct. Because disjunction has an inclusive sense, the intersection. And so A or B, correct one, Namakachon, A or B, not A, then you can say therefore B. A or B, not B in the premise, then you can say therefore A. And on that note, brothers and sisters in the Lord, we are so done. And you have to do your practicing. I think we tried to make
If women
the
are
slides
cheats.
as the men are bullies and they didn't see. Okay,
If women
so some
are cheats,
slides.
Mommy in the
all
Lord.
cheats go to hell.
Oh, I'm done.
Therefore,
I'm done. Let me.
all women go to hell.
All men that need to go
Let
to
me mop up.
hellfire.
Please be at peace, everyone. Let's mop up. I know people want to release, but I've disabled your microphones. I'm just mopping up in 2 minutes. Watch your screen. So this is what we have done already. I've given you a comparison of the two. So you can see modus ponens properly done. Then the affirming the consequent fallacy, the incorrect form, next to each other like that. It can help you pictorially. See some more examples on validity versus soundness. I've already told you valid plus true premises is what we call soundness. Look at this one. You know it already. A sound argument must first be valid, then its premises must be true. And we are done with this. You see that I didn't touch on particular versus general and what have you. You will need that for unit 7, where we are looking for what's the term? Empirical content, verifiability, confirmability, and what have you. So we'll see it again. If you studied it on your own, all the better. We'll see these slides that you see here. Again, types of generalization, statistical generalization, universal generalization. Few versus all, almost. These ones are for unit 7. It will help you tell whether a statement is verifiable or confirmable, and so on, to help you determine the degree of certainty to be attached to it. Wow, good job. Let me end the recording so you can save at this, I think. Then we can take a peculiar questions if you have them. Well done. Okay.